Thank you, everybody, for coming to the Aaron Torres Podcast YouTube page. If you could do me a quick favor, see that little subscribe button at the bottom of your screen? Go ahead, click that subscribe button. Really does help our channel grow, our audience grow, and I really do appreciate it more than you know. So click that subscribe button. Appreciate your support. Now, here's the video that you came here for. Let's go ahead and switch gears because there was, in my opinion, just another monstrous NBA draft decision as Alex Karaban, the fifth starter of the UConn back-to-back national championship team. So UConn obviously won the title last year. This year, they bring back a bunch of guys, but they really have a bunch of new pieces, and they obviously go back-to-back. And so what was interesting about this process is that Alex Karaban was really the fifth guy, right? So Cam Spencer, Tristan Newton are out of eligibility. Steph Castle and Donovan Clingan declare they're both probably going to be like top 5 picks. So ultimately the question was Alex Karaban going to come back? And this was one that kind of went both ways depending on what time of the year or what time of the spring you were kind of evaluating this. When UConn won its second title, they had their victory parade in Hartford. And Alex Karaban said, I'm coming back. He didn't say I'm coming back, but he said, it'd be really cool to go 3 for 3, win a third national title, get my degree, whatever. But if you followed the NBA draft process, Alex Karaban was like one of the stars of the NBA draft combine about 2 weeks ago. Had one of the best 3-point shooting marks at that event, had a lot of good workouts, a lot of positive buzz. And I'll be honest, the deadline was Wednesday at midnight. And I put out a poll on our Torres on UConn account, and I think probably it was about 70-30. Yeah, he's probably not coming back. Well, I bring it up because about 2:30 Eastern time, Alex Karaban, 6'10 forward, fifth starter on UConn's national championship team, averaged 13 points per game, announces that he is in fact coming back. And I just got one question for you. Ready to see UConn go 3 for 3? Because they got as good a shot as anybody going into next year. Now, to be clear, I have Bama 1, Kansas 2. But you talk about a team that could go 3 for 3 with all of the talent they lost. It's kind of insane. First of all, with Karaban, let me even backtrack. Before I give Karaban any acknowledgement, let me also let's credit Dan Hurley here. You know, Dan Hurley, one of the things that most impresses me about him, forget the coaching, the X's and O's, the game day, the whatever. He just seems to have this incredible pulse of his team, of the 13 guys in the locker room. And part of it is, listen, you win at the level that they have, it makes it easier, but it feels like nobody's making crazy rash decisions, okay? So I bring it up because go back to the transfer portal deadline. UConn had 5 freshmen this past year. Steph Castle leaves for the NBA, but the other 4 freshmen, Yusuf Singare, Solo Ball, Jalen Stewart, Jaden Ross, they didn't really play that much this year. Now, different guys had different roles at different points. Solo Ball played early, Jalen Stewart played late, but none of them had huge roles. And so in this era, you just kind of assume that a couple of them are going to end up leaving, and none of them did. Everybody stayed. The only kid that left was basically the 13th guy who just finished his second year at UConn. And so to bring it full circle with Karaban, that's what impresses me about Hurley, is that Hurley said from the beginning, he said, look, if he's going to be a first-round pick, we're going to force him out the door, and we're not letting him come back. But if he's not guaranteed a first-round pick, he can be the star and the face of a team going for a third straight national championship, and he is going to come back. And so I thought when it was all said and done, he would stay in the draft, but I don't think he had that first-round guarantee. Follow anybody who covers the NBA draft. They'll tell you there's not a lot of guaranteed money going around for non-first-rounders. And so Karaban just said, screw it. I'm going to come back, and I'm going to be the face of another really good UConn team. Speaking of which, this UConn team has a chance to be really good again. Now, listen, I think at some point there is going to be a natural attrition. Listen, they lost 3 guys who played in the NBA last year in Adama Sanogo, Andre Jackson, Jordan Hawkins. This year, they're going to lose 4 guys. I think all 4 will hear their names called on draft night. As I just mentioned, Donovan Clingan, Steph Castle, Tristan Newton and Cam Spencer. But at the same time, I still look at it and say, wait a second now. This is still going to be a really good team. Now, there's a lot of attrition, but there's going to be a lot of talent, and it's going to be led by Karaban. First of all, it's kind of crazy with Karaban. Averaged 13 points, 5 rebounds, and as a 6'8" forward, stretch 4, shot 38% from 3. And you could argue that was a little bit down from a year ago. A year ago, he, quote unquote, only averaged 9, but shot 40% from 3. So the 3-point shot wasn't as consistent. And in fewer minutes, averaged basically the same number of rebounds. That's not a knock on Alex Karaban, to be clear. But at the same time, what it says is this kid didn't play his best, and he averaged 13 points on a national championship contender, or national champion, excuse me. And now what I think is he is going to come back and be the star of a national championship contender in 2024, 2025. Listen, as crazy as it sounds, I think there's another level for this guy to get to. 13 a game, 38% three-point shooting. He's going to come back now as a fourth-year college player. He redshirted as a freshman, third-year starter in the Big East. I think he's going to be ready to go. And as a credit to Dan Hurley, make no mistake, there is going to be plenty of talent around him, okay? So we've talked a lot about all these rosters, but it is worth noting a couple key returnees off last year's title team. Samson Johnson, who was the backup center, I assume he'll be the starter, remains to be seen. Our buddy Hassan Diarra obviously will shift into the starting point guard role. And then two of the freshmen, I think, that we talked about a minute ago, I expect to make major contributions next year. Jalen Stewart, solo ball. Jalen Stewart's about 6'8", 6'9". Solo ball is about 6'4". And I'll be blunt. I think both can develop into NBA players. I think Jalen Stewart will for sure be one, but that's a great 5 to be returning. Jaden Ross, Yusuf Singare as well. But then on top of that, and this is where it gets interesting, the 5 that they brought in this offseason, woo, it's getting interesting. First of all, the portal decisions. Aiden Mahaney, the leading scorer from St. Mary's. Listen, I did my portal top 100. I'm really high on this kid because I think this is the perfect role for him at UConn. I don't think he's a elite ball handler, but I think he can be a secondary ball handler that handles the ball if you need it. And he's going to be great in this offense, shooting threes, was about a 40% shooter as a freshman, maybe took a little bit of a step back this year. He's going to have so much talent around him, it's not going to matter. Terrace Reed, Michigan center transfer, will be impactful. And then it's hard not to love this freshman class. Big name, Liam McNeely, McDonald's All-American. We talked about him plenty in the lead up to his commitment. I just think he's going to be so perfect for this offense. 6'7", 6'8", very impactful, very talented, three-point shooter, 3-level scorer. I just think he has a chance to be really good quickly. Now, it's going to take some time. He's a freshman in the Big East, but he's going to be really good. The other two freshmen, Ahmad Noel, I remember the day he committed, I said, I think this kid is undervalued, and Isaiah Abraham. So you look at UConn. You look at what they are capable of being. Do I think they should be favored? I don't. But can they go back to back to back? The first one since Tom Amansky's AAU National Championships? It could happen because the infrastructure is in place. The veterans are in place. The leaders, the Hassan Diarras, the Alex Karabans, the whatevers are there. You're bringing in 2 adult veteran players. Terrace Reed is a grown-up. Aiden Mahaney is a grown-up. They're stepping in. They understand the responsibility that comes with being a UConn Husky. And I think those freshmen are going to be really good as well. I think the other thing to factor in too, I think the Big East is going to be a little bit down next year. Villanova is kind of a mess. We'll talk about them maybe a little bit at the end with the decision that was made there. Butler's not very good. Georgetown isn't very good. Marquette should be good, but they lose Tyler Kolek. St. John's should be good, but they're breaking in a lot of new pieces. Seton Hall's taking a step back. Xavier should be kind of on the way up. You know, you really look at it, only Xavier and maybe to a smaller degree, St. John's, can you say that they're better next year on paper than they were last year? So there's a chance for a lot more wins, for a Big East regular season title, for a trip to New York in March, and to put themselves in position to have success. But I really like this UConn team. And I really think it's crazy, but they really do have a chance to go 3 for 3. I'm not saying it'll happen, but I think it can. By the way, you want to talk about a couple things. One, if UConn goes 3 for 3, that is, in my opinion, in this era with everybody that they lost, I think that's one of the greatest accomplishments we would have ever seen at that point. A long way to go. I also think Alex Karaban, if he's a starter on 3 straight national championship teams, I don't even know what to say. I mean, it's got to be the greatest Husky ever, right? Got to be in the short conversation of most impactful college basketball players ever. It sounds crazy, but would you rather have Alex Karaban's career or Zion Williamson's career? So anyway, these are all conversations to have down the road. Alex Karaban is back, and UConn is going for a 3-peat.